What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel, Mystic Watch, and today we got a brand new video. So we are going to be taking a look at some leaks for the upcoming characters in 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross. This is going to be specifically for JP characters, and 2 of them are going to be coin shop units. So even if you are on global, this might be somewhat interesting to take a look at. If you guys want to take a look at this yourself, I will link down below Tin of Knowledge, whatever you want to call it, SDSGC Info Twitter. But you can find the leaks here as well. So I pulled everything up on multiple tabs, just so it's easier to read. We have 3, we actually have a couple of characters, right? There's GLOXINIA, Monspeed, and Dreyfus. But I don't know if this counts as Fraudrin or Dreyfus because, you know, they're technically different. So that's the one thing we have to keep in mind for that. But in terms of GLOXINIA and Monspeed, we already have, you know, units for them. They already exist in the game, and they are one of the 10 commandments. So they have a commandment already. And the commandments are the same for all versions of the characters, meaning that we already know what that's going to be. So let's start off by taking a look one at a time. So we'll start off with Monspeed, right? So this Monspeed says Monspeed of Reticence has a skill that inflicts weak point, and also has a skill that a skill effect that deletes, cancels enemy skills. Okay, so let's take a look at our original Monspeed to see what he does, right? His commandment and how that fits in as well. Allies and enemies will not gain ultimate move gauge from using skills in PvP, meaning the only way to gain ultimate move gauge is by combining cards or moving cards around. I don't know if this counts from when it says using skills, right? So if you attack with 3 cards, you gain 0 ultimate gauge. But if the move gives you an ultimate gauge, that's the one thing I don't know. And by that, I mean, let's take a look at Escanor, right? Escanor's move says fills ultimate gauge by 1 orb, right? This is the one thing I have to test out myself, if this actually works in the presence of Monspeed. Because that actually does matter. But besides that, so now that we know his commandment, let's go back one more time and take a look. A skill that inflicts weak point, meaning that it'll most likely be the same exact move as Jericho. So Jericho's move, right here, says inflicts weak point and does 110, 165, and 275 damage. And weak point is 3 times damage against debuffed enemies. It's a massive damage, and if you guys have used Jericho at all in any means, you know that she hits like a truck. So pretty much, I'm going to assume that this move is going to be the exact same move as Jericho's move. The other move is also has a skill effect that deletes or cancels enemy skills. Now, when I look at this, I think of back to Escanor. Escanor says remove buffs from one enemy and inflicts damage by whatever. Ignites for 3 turns. However, it didn't mention ignite, so it's probably going to be some variation of this move. Most likely, if it doesn't ignite, the damage will be higher, but it doesn't mean that it can't ignite, so it could also be the same move as Escanor. The reason for this is, it would be very weird if it didn't ignite, because of the weak point. Giving a unit weak point without giving them a debuff is a really bad character design. So if I was to guess what this Monspeed actually looked like, it would be Jericho's move, and then it would be Escanor's move. Just like that. And that would be what Monspeed was, including his own commandment. We don't know anything about a passive here. So that's the one thing that we're still missing. Now, keep in mind that this could be wrong, and this is just me guessing. But I think that's a pretty good estimate as to what we could expect from Monspeed. Typically, Grand Cross shares moves between multiple characters. And even though the skill might look different, it is really at the end of the day the same exact move. I'll give you a couple examples, right? So taking a look at Elegant Blow, you can take a look at the multipliers here, 240, 300, 500. And if you go back here and we take a look at Meliodas, right here. 240, 300, 500. Same exact move. Nothing changes whatsoever. If you take a look at Merlin, look at this move. 120 depletes 1 gauge, 300 depletes 1, 450 depletes 3. And then we go take a look at Helbram. Same exact move. That's my point, right? In this game, units tend to share the same exact skills quite often. And because of that, that's what I'm using as a basis to my predictions with this Monspeed. This Monspeed seems pretty good. I can't remember how high his base stats were. For example, the highest stats in the game are Meliodas. 4460 highest base stats. Now, Monspeed should share... I just have him up already. Like, he is decently low, but this is somewhere in the middle. But overall, his stats are pretty low. Like 40% resistance, 20% crit chance, 150 crit damage. It's really not that high. 0% lifesteal as well. The pierce rate is super low. So, overall, as a character, I don't think he's going to be that strong unless they make his kit really, really, really powerful. Now, let's move on to Gloxinia. This is the Gloxinia. Now, keep in mind that this is a coin shop Monspeed and this is a coin shop Gloxinia. You can tell by their outfits as well. Gloxinia has a skill that prevents enemies from using rank 2 and rank 3 skills. He has a heal that cleanses to boost the survivability of allies. Okay, so he has a heal, and this first move seems absolutely busted. Now let's go take a look at Gloxinia. Passive. Right, commandment. Allies and enemies who use 2 or more skills in a single turn will have their attack-related stats. So, pierce rate, crit chance, crit damage. And attack, of course. Reduced by 30%. And this happens prior to the use of the second skill. So as soon as you're about to use that second move, that's it. You know, the effect goes off. And then his ultimate is inflicts ruin for each debuff, yada yada yada. I also didn't take a look at Monspeed's ultimate, but I should have done that because the ultimate's going to be the same. Removes stances from all enemies and inflicts damage equal to 280%, applies 2 ignites for 4 turns. That is a really weak ultimate. That is so weak. My god. Okay, whatever. So, pretty decent commandment. It promotes people using single card, like per unit, or not attacking as frequently, because this is a massive debuff. Absolutely massive debuff. Now, the main thing about Gloxinia is this first move seems absolutely busted beyond all imagining. Gloxinia prevents enemies from using rank 2 and rank 3 skills. We do not have a card or a skill in this game that does that yet. So, I can imagine that this is absolutely insane. This is a super hard counter to Gother and the new Meliodas that came out, who ranks up his own cards. I'm curious to see how this plays out. Now, keep in mind that Gloxinia has to use a card for this to happen, right? So there's a chance that this effect is like a rank 3 effect, and the rank 1 and 2 are significantly worse. But regardless, this is such a powerful ability, so I have to see how it gets played out. And this is enemies? So is this an AoE move? Like, that is scary. My god, this Gloxinia seems really, really powerful just from the leak, but unfortunately, since we don't have anything to base it off of, it's hard to go from there. And then he has a heal that cleanses, yada yada. The heal can go one of 2 ways, right? We have a heal that's like King. And King's heal is debuff, it cleanses first, and then the level 2 heals. And then we have the other version of a heal, which is Lilia, that heals first, and then removes debuffs. So that's a difference. Also, the scaling is a little bit different. This is based off attack, the other one is based off diminished HP. Now, let's go take a look at Demon Dreyfus, or... Okay, I guess it is Fraudrin, right? Now, Fraudred doesn't seem... he does not have a commandment, which I was surprised about. But Fraudred of Selfishness has a skill that can ignore resistance, Shatter. He also has a skill that taunts and reflects some of the damage received. There is certain people who reflect damage. It's not a counter, but let's actually take a look real quick. I believe it is a rare who reflects damage. You? Yes, okay. Reflects damage. Increases defense by 100% and reflects 40% of the damage taken. This is we never saw the skill being used on an SR or an SSR unit. So, I'm not sure one of the kings, the fat kings, might have a reflect, but besides that, I don't believe anyone actually has a reflect skill. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we never really got to see this move used that well. I'm curious as how is this gonna turn out, because if you think about it, at least in Taizu's case, his skill is counterproductive, right? Increases the defense and then reflects the damage. If you're increasing defense, you're gonna take a lot less damage, and then you're reflecting a low amount to begin with. For example, the correct way to have done this is to, like, there's a mechanic that's not in this game, but just an overall mechanic that's before mitigation, right? Those are the keywords, before mitigation. And that means is that the damage done before applying resistances. So they could have used that, and I think that would have worked out very well here. But if they were planning on doing this, this should have been like starting off at 100%, 160, 200%. Because he's not taking that much damage to begin with, which is the whole point. Either way, the skill specifically says taunts and reflects. So it has nothing to do with increasing defense. And the fact that it also says taunt means that it's a completely new move. So the multiplier is going to be completely different. Or they could be the same. But I'm going to believe that they're increasing the numbers a decent amount. And then the other move is just a shatter move that ignores resistance. Pretty good move. There's, I'm gonna, if it's single target or AoE, doesn't really matter. It's just gonna be a strong move either way. And then we don't know anything about his passive, but we do have the ultimate again. Inflicts damage equal to 630% of attack on one enemy and depletes 3 ultimate gauge. We've had this move a couple times, and it's a pretty good move overall. It's a high multiplier to start off with. That's really it. Like I said, no commandment. He has a passive, but nothing really happened there. And then we have 2 more leaks, and that's about it. We got Fairy Hellbrum can stay alive for a long time in battle on his own with his recovery skill and lifesteal skill. That's it. And then Bon has a skill which extorts stats and is useful in boss battles with high defense attack, with high attack or defense stats, and in deathmatch. So we don't really have too much to go off of on these 2 characters, but we can kind of take a look. It says he can stay alive for a long time with his recovery skill and lifesteal skill. So this makes it seem like he has a heal move, and then he also has some sort of move that does lifesteal. Now we have a couple units that have excuse me. We have a couple units that have lifesteal. One being the Coin Shop Bon, and he has a lifesteal move on his part 2, which is AoE. So if they decide to go the AoE route, this seems like a decent way to go about it. But if they decide to go a different way, I would suggest the Hendrickson, right? Where he does single target and then lifesteals like this. So those are the 2 moves that come up to mind immediately. I'm pretty sure there might be more lifesteal skills than this, but this is just the first thing that, I found, or recalled, I should say. And then in terms of, I don't know how I feel about this Hellbrum. Doesn't seem that powerful to me. I'm sure we need to see the passive before anything else, because that's what usually ends up making or breaking a character. And then Bond, on the other hand, is extort stats and is useful in boss battles with high attack or defense and in deathmatch. So, this is weird because we have two bonds that extort in different ways, right? We have a single target extort that does damage, and then we have the AoE extort from that same coin shop bond. We can have that go either way, but I really don't see them sharing the same skill within the same character. Remember when I showed off that different characters have different moves, right? But they still are they're the same exact move, just under a different name or, you know, illustration, whatever you want to call it. However, we do not have characters that do the same thing within, you know, like, how do I explain it? There hasn't been a Hellbrum that does the same thing another Hellbrum does. There hasn't been a Merlin that does the same thing another Merlin does. Even though the Merlin and the Hellbrum share a card, but they don't have their own characters that share cards. So seeing what this bond does is going to be pretty interesting, because there's a good chance that he gets a completely new version of Extort. And that's what I'm curious to see. This is also not Nunchuck bond. That is one other thing to take a look at. And that's it. That's all we have for this. So hopefully this video gave you some insight on what these characters can actually do. If you enjoyed this stuff, make sure you leave a like, comment something down below, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and of course, I'll see you all next time. Peace out.